Welcome back, Truth Seeker. This is going to be a very important video. And if you were not following me in 2018 and 2019, leading up to August 11th, 2019, there was a massive popularity in a series I was doing. It was about the friction going on in Israel with Temple Mount and the significance of the Golden Gate at Temple Mount and what the Golden Gate in San Francisco, what the parallel was to the Golden Gate in Israel at Temple Mount, the Golden Gate Bridge and the parallel to Temple Mount, and why it mattered that at that time Donald Trump was raising money in Israel to eventually build a third temple. There's a show out there called Dig, DIG. When you dig in the ground, you're supposed to call 811 before you dig. The show Dig is about blowing up Temple Mount to build the third temple there. It's about hardline Zionists who want to destroy the Temple Mount site and to rebuild the third temple. In the Jewish belief system, they're waiting for their equivalent of Yeshua or Jesus to arrive, and it's going to happen at the time of the third temple. So this is part of Jewish prophecy that has not yet occurred in human history. But Temple Mount, Golden Gate, they're part of this prophecy. So back in 2018, 2019, we were looking at all these clues that were pointing to August 11th, 2019. And what happened that day was it was one of the greatest atrocities between Judaism and Islam, as it ended up turning out. It was Tisha B'av, to remember the destruction of the temples for the Jews, and it was the Day of the Dead for the Islamic people to remember, their dead ancestors. And both groups are praying in the Temple Mount area, but Israeli police fired all this tear gas on the Muslim worshipers, and it was just seen to be one of the ugliest sights that had ever happened between, you know, Jews and Muslims, and it ended up being on that August 11th date. But then the larger event that happened in the world on August 11th was in Taiwan and China with the massive protests. Do you remember these massive protests that happened there, and then the crackdown? And then we saw in Western media like cops like literally brutalizing the citizens, and we're like, wow, look at the way their police are to protesters, giving them a beat down, the batons, is everything, just like whooping their ass. You don't see that. It's the exact opposite now in recent years in the U.S. Now police are really soft. Yesterday's story was, the police were just chill and letting the protesters take over the Golden Gate Bridge on tax day as the feds start their, investigation into the Key Bridge collapse, which had to do with a big boat. And it's quite the story, like how the Titanic sunk in history on April 15th. This was the anniversary of that. This is the day Lincoln died. Remember, Lincoln signed the Secret Service into being the day that he was assassinated. If you didn't know that, check it out. It's facts. He's shot late April 14th, dies April 15th. The Titanic starts to sink late April 14th, sinks all the way April 15th. Again, we're going to bring all this stuff together, how all of these things are related and why it all went down on April 15th, and who's given us the whopper of tales that's leading the world astray. Well, what's leading the world astray is people going along with these big whoppers and these big lies and these big rituals that are leading to something really ugly that's been forecast in Hollywood and other places. It's part of, again, the biblical prophecy. But yeah, again, here's all the things we're going to bring together. If I'm not being clear enough, we're going to bring together the federal investigation of the Key Bridge. Remember, that came down on Nancy Pelosi's birthday. She's from Baltimore, but she's been a politician big time out in the Bay Area, San Francisco, for all these years. We were showing how the day the Key Bridge came down, what it had to do with the Golden Gate Bridge. We knew a big ritual's coming here. Now we got a big ritual at the Golden Gate Bridge, and it's pointing to what's going on in Israel at the other Golden Gate at Temple Mount. And it's a reminder about Baltimore's, where Edgar Allan Poe died. And this year the war began in Israel on Edgar Allan Poe's 174th death anniversary. And that's special 174 because Baltimore Ravens is 174. Mike Tomlin got his 174th win the following day, October 8th. 174th career win the day after the 174th anniversary of the death of Edgar Allan Poe, which is who the Ravens are named after, his poem, The Raven. He got that win against the Ravens. But we're talking about how this mattered because Baltimore Ravens 174, Number of the Beast 174, New World Order 174. Tomorrow, 17/4, it'll be the anniversary of Mr. New World Order's wife dying. That's George H.W. Bush, excuse me. His son, George W. Bush, was also president. 11 years to the day of his speech about the New World Order. But anyway, we're going to bring all these little things together. The bridge ritual yesterday, the key bridge collapse, Donald Trump appearing in court. Donald Trump. Let me see if I can pull this up here. Where is it? Where's the Donald Trump headline I need for you? Right here. And recording, Parnas and Fruman compare Trump to Messiah. According to Jewish Gematria, which is Numerology, Giuliani Associate explains the letters in Trump's name add up to Messiah. Again, if you guys didn't know, 7-Eleven, a lot of you probably shop at it. It's based in the code of Gematria as well. Its meaning is Jewish, and it has to do with Gematria, a special number in there. Anyhow, if you're new here, we're going to be talking about Gematria, how it proves how all of these things fit together and are part of one long, ongoing, big, sick joke on humanity. And it shows that there is that thing that people wonder if it's real or not. Is there an Illuminati? Is there a new world order? Is there a cabal of people pulling the strings on humanity and controlling them through governments and medias and all the ways humanity's manipulated, largely starting with the indoctrination system, which we call the education system. But anyway, I can't get through the list. There's just too many things that we have to bring together, but we're going to bring it all together. The bridges, what's going on with the war in Israel, why this comes on the anniversary of the Titanic sinking. For people who don't know, I've talked about this a million times. Before I knew Gematria, this blew my mind when I first learned this. William Morgan wrote the book Futility, the Wreck of the Titan, about the largest ship to ever sail, hitting an iceberg and sinking on its first sail. Futility, the Wreck of the Titan. That book was written more than a decade before the Titanic sunk on its first sail, hitting an iceberg. And again, if you look into the Titanic, the day it sank, a lot of the people who were very rich and powerful in the world and who did not want a central bank in the U.S., something that was being fought to be kept out because they knew what it would do to the nation. Imagine you're a wealthy interest here and you're benefiting from the way the nation is. And you know there's this major power player trying to come in from Europe to be this central bank. And you know that the way they operate, because they're competitors, the people who run that private central bank that wants to hijack your government and the land you're doing well, you know that could mess up your operation. That's why you would fight that. So anyway, again, if you guys don't know about the Titanic, a lot of very rich, powerful men were on that boat when they died. And J.P. Morgan, the big banker, like all you guys go to Chase, you know, it's J.P. Morgan Chase. J.P. Morgan, he got off the boat at the last minute. You know, he said he didn't feel well. He got off right before it set sail so faithfully. A book a little more than a decade earlier about the Titan hitting the iceberg and sinking on its first sail between Europe and New York. So again, it was going to New York, right, or the East Coast. Donald Trump in court on New York on the same day. We're going to bring all these stories together. Again, here's a headline from 2019, February 2019. Old post from my old website. Palestinians say Israel playing with fire by closing Temple Mount Gate. The Jerusalem police detained 5 East Jerusalem Arabs who tried to enter the premises of the Golden Gate, which has been closed by a court order. So that's back in 2019. Again, Golden Gate here. Now you got pro-Palestinian protesters on the Golden Gate on 15/4 when Temple Mount equates to 154. Okay? In Gematria, Temple Mount, 154. Same thing we've been talking about for all these years. And we were documenting back then the little stories that they would do like this. And we'd be like, wait a minute, these are connecting. These stories in San Francisco are connecting to the one in Israel. We see what they're doing, and now it's the same thing, but it's 2024. And the thing about right now is we're at the tail end of Israel being 75 years old. Again, there's that headline from the New York Times. Look it up. New York Times, October 6th, 1940. The headline says, New World Order pledged to Jews. And what we've always pointed out about that date is it has 75 numerology, and New World Order equals 75. Big way, it also equals 174, like tomorrow's 17/4. But anyhow, moving through this, I hope we're understanding the connection, right? This headline from 2019 has to do with Temple Mount and the Golden Gate there. Now, it's 5 years later. Israel's 75, this magic number. Again, that headline all those years ago back in 1940 when Israel didn't even exist. Israel created in 1948 after the World Wars, year after the CIA and the Tavistock Institute. But anyway, I hope we've made clear how Temple Mount and Palestine and these things fit together in this protest on 15/4, tax day. San Francisco, one of the big tax cities historically. Until very recently, everybody on the West Coast sent their taxes to San Francisco. They just switched it the other year to Cincinnati. That's where Xavier is. Francis Xavier, the most important Jesuit after Ignatius of Loyola. In the time of the first Jesuit Pope, Pope Francis. Pope Francis named after St. Francis of Assisi. Just like San Francisco is named after St. Francis of Assisi. Clare, the greatest follower of St. Francis, died on August 11th. So much history in San Francisco on August 11th. Alcatraz, the Paso Road. I'm forgetting it right now. R.I.P. to the comedian very connected to the Bay Area. Robin Williams, dead August 11th. 8/11, this huge number with the Bay Area. 8/11, the day of the spiritual atrocity in 2019 on Temple Mount, when so many news stories were pointing to that day that something was coming. And like we said back then, we said, again, this is an ongoing narrative. That this is a climax day, August 11, 2019. Thank God they didn't blow up Temple Mount, but you get why it's this horrible friction between Jews and Arabs on this day as this friction's being purposefully built in the world. Again, for people who want to know why Temple Mount's so contested and why all this history is attributed there, if you look into it, it's the Catholic Church and certain sects of Judaism that believe that that's this important biblical site. Not everyone agrees. But in history, it's where the Templars set up their headquarters in the time of the Crusades. Again, the Templars served the Catholic Church. We talked about what October 7th has to do with the Templars, when the war popped off in Israel, when we invaded Afghanistan after 9/11, and Bush called it a crusade. Again, there's so many pieces to bring together here, but let me try to and just move through the slides so people have a visual to go with what I'm talking about. And if it's not making sense, it's going to make a lot more sense. So 15/4, this important historical day, from Lincoln to the Titanic to tax day, this. And again, your tax money for the feds, they start their investigation on the same day on the Key Bridge. When you guys haven't seen my work on the Key Bridge, we were explaining what it had to do with the Golden Gate Bridge. It was undeniable. And through Nancy Pelosi and the numbers. Just to make a point, Golden Gate Bridge equals 135. It's the same as the gematria of Joe Biden's infrastructure bill. And the Key Bridge came down 135 days after the Superior General's birthday, the leader of the Jesuits. Again, if you're new here, the Jesuits gave us the calendar, standardized English with the 26-letter alphabet, and did all these things at the same moment in history in the 16th century, the century that they came into being. And again, you pay attention. Major rituals in the world perfectly coordinated with the Pope and the Superior General, as we've been documenting through all of this. And it was just so obvious at the start of this war in Israel that all this is now mounting from. Again, while Israel's 75, when New World Order out of chaos, Catholic Church, Roman Catholic, and order itself all have that value of 75. They said these protests shut down the bridge at 7:30 a.m. local time. Again, this prophecy that's unfolding, a lot of it has to do with Revelation, which ends with major warfare. The 73rd book of the Bible is Revelation in Catholic Bibles. 7:30 a.m. This starts. That's the 450th minute of the day. Key digits 4, 5. Bridge equals 45. Holy Bible 45. Donald Trump's so connected to all of this, as we'll bring about, and that's why his court date's starting in New Babylon or New York or Gotham City or whatever you want to call it. By the numbers in a big ritual on this same day. It says the California Highway Patrol issued a SIG alert at about 8:10 a.m. Golden Gate Bridge. If you're new here, there are 4 base ciphers, meaning a word or a phrase will have 4 numerical values. Sometimes there are overlap numbers and they're the exact same. Golden Gate Bridge equals 81 forwards and backwards. Bigger weight equals 135. But this alert for the Golden Gate Bridge at 8:10. That's the 490th man of the day. 49. That Revelation equals 49. We're talking about San Francisco, home of the 49ers. Just lost in a big ritual in the Super Bowl. Highway 101, right after OJ dies on the 101st day of the year, and they announced it as the Masters are teeing off. In a perfect gematria riddle, paying tribute to Ephesians 6:5-9. Slaves, obey your masters. Slavery code all over OJ Simpson in his trial. That was a big Jesuit joke. His lawyer, Johnny Cochran, Jesuit educated, says on the day in history the Jesuits were recognized by Rome. He says, if the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit. Then decades later, R. Kelly's getting the opposite side of that, getting sent to prison on September 27th, that big Jesuit day. Again, if you're new here, the point I'm making is the Jesuits are syncing up all these rituals. Donald Trump, Jesuit educated, huge actor on the world stage for these people right now, and so central to all of this. This is an old post from 2019. There's a lot of things I could say about this, but the headline. Do you remember the other year when there was the huge pier fire in San Francisco, and we were showing how that was a perfect Jesuit ritual, and it was synced with Ignatius Loyola, the founder of the Jesuits, who said, "Go forth and set the world on fire." And then last year, you had Jesuit-educated politician from San Francisco as the acting mayor when Maui was set ablaze in a very obvious Jesuit ritual, synced with another Jesuit-educated man, Joe Biden, who then showed up on Hawaii's 64th birthday as a state to talk about the fire when Maui equals 64, like Joe Biden, like Barack Hussein Obama. Just one sick joke after the next. But anyway, that phrase, playing with fire, is 223, like the synagogue of Satan. And remember, we said war was going to break out in Israel in 2023. And then the 10-4 emergency alert showed us that it looked like the thing we've been waiting for all year was 3 days away on October 7th. And boom, the next thing you know, on October 7th, after we just talked about on 10-4, that's exactly what happens on Putin's birthday. And now you have Iran attacking Israel on the 104th day of the leap year. But that phrase, playing with fire, also goes with August 11th being the 223rd day of the year. And again, we were just looking at this stuff's from the beginning of 2019. So look at that. I was pointing out how it says this people were arrested on February 18th, 218. Remember, Holy Roman Empire's 218. The emergency alert went out to the U.S. at 2:18 Eastern time. Trump has this big 218 connection. They did the same ritual in Russia the same day they did it in the U.S. with the 10-4 alert, 3 days before the war broke out. But Temple Mount Gate 218, right? Again, that's what we've been pointing to is how this prophecy that they're fulfilling in the world that's going to be the next big cataclysm is the destruction of Temple Mount to really get things popping. And then Taiwan and China, and that friction's also part of this. Again, the day of August 11, 2019, that was the day of the huge protest, China-Taiwan, that's led to this larger growing friction that's coming to a head. Again, at the end of last year, the leader of China said by the end of this year, they will have Taiwan under their control one way or another. And other countries in the world like the U.S. are saying, no way, that's not going to happen. Anyhow, there's a lot of things here, but notice I was documenting how the arrests were 174 days. Just same thing, New World Order, 174, number of the beast, talking about the same stuff over and over. And this past football season, the war began on the 174th death anniversary of Edgar Allan Poe. And this Ravens football team's been so connected to tragedy. They won the last Super Bowl before 9/11. You know, this year they had a really good year in the AFC Championship. After all the deaths connected to the team. Again, Mike Tomlin got his 174th win, run by the Jesuit Rooney family, the Steelers. He coaches for the Steelers. Team used in the Dark Knight Rises. Team used in the Sum of All Fears. Team used in Black Sunday. All these tragic. And by the way, Black Sunday, where the Steelers are in the destructive event, it's pro-Palestinian terrorists attacking, right? Pro-Palestinian protesters yesterday. Again, this whole Palestine thing, conflict came out of what they devised after the world wars by selecting that as the land for the new Jewish state and creating all this friction through all the different ways they do. And understand, they create the friction against all religious groups. They make people hate Christians, Jews, Muslims. This is what the world does with the Abrahamic religions. Pits them against each other, puts out nonstop propaganda to make everyone hate one another. And you just see how it works. And again, it's why after 9/11, they put out the information of the dancing Israelis and them being sent back home to Israel. That made a lot of researchers go, oh, evil Zionist Jews run the world. It's so obvious. Look at the dancing Israeli story. Even 60 Minutes covered it. Really, that was just another layer of bait to create more division. That was part of the agenda. There's elements of truth within it, but it doesn't mean Jews run the world and Jews were totally responsible for 9/11. Far from it. Again, we're on the Catholic Church's calendar with the Jesuits who gave it to us and the language, and are clearly syncing it up because it's synced up with them. So at the end of the day, and it's not to say every Jesuit educated person's responsible. It's to say certain Jesuits within this network of priests and power are the ones putting the script together. Some of you guys are like, but I can't go on any further unless I know if a computer's doing this. Just stop asking the wrong questions and start asking the right questions. Okay, is this right that the Jesuits are doing this? Do we need to stop them before maybe they do blow up Temple Mount like they did in their Dig show? Dig 8/11, Bay Area, everything 8/11, London Breed, which sounds like London Bridge with the 8/11 birthday. Alcatraz open on 8/11. Just so many 8/11s. The good news is, if these people are working at a snail's pace and just teasing us, the next year that Tisha B'Av falls on August 11th, we got a long time until then. I hope that's how long we have. That's the optimist that we got. So it was 2019. So 2038 is the next time Tisha B'Av is going to fall on August 11th, 2038. Anyway, this federal criminal investigation for the bridge. Again, you guys, it was a federal crime. So to have a federal criminal investigation, Ralph Nader, man, I know that Ralph Nader more knew than he let on about and talked about, but he was always pointing out to people that you have to understand. If you guys don't know Ralph Nader, he's the guy that's supposedly the reason you have seatbelts in your car. He was a great consumer advocate and tried to get responsibility from big corporations to protect their consumers. So wear a seatbelt, make sure this harmful thing's not in this, etc. And then in 2000, he was the biggest buzz running as a third-party candidate for the U.S., and he was selling out basketball stadiums all around the nation. And then voting day came, and people thought he had a real chance, but then they said he got like 0.5% of the vote, which seemed like a joke based on how much hype there was for him. Didn't seem real. And then who won that election? Bush, where he was down there with his brother, who was the 43rd governor, and then he became the 43rd president. Again, the whole election came down to Florida, where his brother was the 43rd governor. Again, Bush became the second Bush president, number 43. His dad was once vice president to Reagan, number 43, 43rd vice president. Yale equals 43, like where they went to school. But, oh my God, my mind, it slipped. Anyway, just big rig show by the numbers. And since my mind slipped, just to get back on point with what's in front of the screen, supposedly this ship, the Dolly, again, Salvador Dali died at 84, did the Broken Bridge in the Dream. This happened on Pelosi's 84th birthday, huge Jesuit U.S. history number. But again, everyone must know this in case you haven't watched any of my other videos. Key bridge in Gematria equals 86. It came down on the 86th day of the year. 86 means to get rid of. And then the insult was it came down on Pelosi's birthday. And 86 weeks earlier, Pelosi was in Singapore. Again, the Dolly was a Singaporean ship, but she was shaking the hand of the Singaporean leader 86 weeks earlier on Francis Scott Key's birthday. Then the Francis Scott Key Bridge came down, known as the Key Bridge. 86th in a big code. And then there was a lot more to it because it was 128 days before Francis Scott Key's birthday, and it was on the 128th day of Biden's age, and it came down at 1:28 a.m., and bridge claps equals 128, like Maryland, like Maritime, and so much more. Goes with the bridge coming down in Pittsburgh on January 28th, 128, when Joe Biden was there to talk infrastructure. And then again, the name of his infrastructure bill, which he referenced after the Key Bridge came down, the Gematria, that's 135. And then the Key Bridge came down 135 days after the Superior General's birthday. And Golden Gate Bridge is 135, like Central Intelligence Agency, which was established in 47. And the word time, government, authority, they all equal 47. The word beast also equals 47. Number of the beast equals 258. And this federal investigation began 258 days after Francis Scott Key's birthday anniversary. And again, they had to tell you the bridge came down 3 days after its 47th birthday. And they had to tell you the water was 47 degrees Fahrenheit at the time of the collapse. And they have to do these same rituals and these same numbers over and over because this agenda is evil. This is the beast agenda. Entertaining people, showing them the future, mocking them, making their prophecy that's contrived, fulfilled to further divide the world. And again, you have to think about the way these people operate. They start wars, they destroy people, they kill innocent people, they destroy property, and then they come in and buy it up for pennies on the dollar and gain even more control over the world. And then they control the central banks, they issue all the money that they make more interest off. So every tax dollar goes more and more towards banker interest instead of something that would actually make their society better. Anyway, this ritual with the bridge is also, again, on the anniversary of the Titanic sinking. And big ship, big story. This is a big story with a big bill. And I want to remind people about the book, again, Futility, Wreck of the Titan, written by William Morgan, that predicted the biggest ship to ever sail would sink traveling from Europe to the U.S. after hitting an iceberg. So shout out to young Ben. He's somewhere out in the world. Young Ben was a great contributor, and he made this connection between, I'd been talking about these things for so many years, but I'd never made this connection. And this guy was in high school at the time, and what he pointed out, he said, Zach, you're always talking about the Titanic and how it was written about and the people that were on there. But he said, look at this connection with the actual sinking of the boat in the Federal Reserve. So this post is from January 2018. So this post is over 6 years old. But, over the years, if there was a top 10 meaningful contributions brought by the community, this one's in it. And there's been more than 10. There's probably been, 200 at least great submissions over the years by the community that became essential parts of my research. At least. Could be more than that. But from the sinking of the Titanic to the establishment of the Federal Reserve was 617 days, which is the 113th prime number. And see, we didn't have that piece. We'd been talking about Titanic and 113 and how 113 is this number of deception, which comes from the Talmud. And if you guys don't know this, in the Talmud in Bava Kama 113a, it says it's okay for a certain group of religious people to lie to other religious people as long as it's within a legal setting. But again, almost the whole world's a legal setting. And the thing about this number 113 is words like mainstream, dishonest, perverted, not true, not honest, not factual, disinfo, politics, perjury, fiction, bullshit, infidelity, divorce, all these things that have to do with dishonesty, sinister, erroneous. They all happen to have this gematria value of 113. Green screen 113. It can be used for deception. The master of it, George Lucas 113. His first film about this dystopian society ruled over by screens. THX 1138. The future is here. If you don't know about Piltdown Man, look into Piltdown Man, the first proof of evolution that was admitted to be a fraud after 41 years. Piltdown's 113 the big way. It's 41 the small way. What they did with O.J. Simpson and now O.J. Simpson's death all these years later. O.J. Simpson and Ron Goldman 113. What they did with Princess Diana. So many things. This post about Kobe here is before he even died. But this number was so important to his career. His poem, his retirement poem, the Utah Jazz, the NBA's, the National Basketball Association's 113, like coronavirus pandemic. Remember they declared the pandemic on 11/3 right after the death of Kobe and his burial in Corona del Mar. This post right here is from way before Kobe died. I wrote about this stuff in a book in 2017, way before Kobe died. This is all in a book from 2017. Kobe goes on to die. They bury him in Corona del Mar, and they launched the pandemic on 113. You know what I mean? That's why, had the world just taken the time to study and understand what we've been talking about, and what was the pandemic? It's right there in the biggest font possible. It was bullshit. You know, I told you that the whole time, and I modeled it and proved it. I was always outside, no muzzle on, not obeying any of the rules, making a scene, losing my Costco membership. You guys missed that stream. That was one for the ages, going through the Costco, cutting in the line, just going in to get my groceries like I would at any other store, not wearing a slave muzzle. I had like 7 different employees try to engage me to get me to put on a slave muzzle. And I kept telling them all, I said, listen, when I signed my contract for a Costco, it didn't say I had to put on a slave muzzle and act like I was some dumbass and be afraid of some 99.9% survivable illness. The last guy who came up to me, you guys, it looked like he hadn't washed his mask for like 2 months, and he had this big like brown stain in the middle of it, and he was telling me I need to put a mask on as I'm checking out, doing the new self checkout, which I hate to do, but that day I had to because it was just, you know, all the employees were acting like I was carrying the killer cooties. But I told that guy to go look in the mirror at his slave muzzle and how it looked like literally somebody taking a shit in the middle of it. And he walked away. So you could just see, all I could see was his eyes because the rest of his face is covered. But the way his eyes like folded and he walked away, he knew it was true. You know, he didn't have a comeback for that one. So he just left and no more employees messed with me. And then I told people, I said, see, that's how you do it right there. But then I got a letter from Costco in the mail like 2 days later saying that my membership was canceled. And that's fine because we shouldn't even support corporations like that are treating us like we're dumbasses for this agenda, for this 113 agenda. But yeah, if you guys weren't here for all that, it's too bad. You missed out on a lot of great times. But yeah, again, everything I wrote about in that book in 2017 has proven itself tenfold, at least. Here's Titanic in 113. So this post, and we understood this list, but this is the first time I just put it into like an epic post list. It was a tribute to the 113th day of the year. That's what I was doing them by the numbers. On the 113th day of the year, YouTube's birthday, a totally dishonest platform. Even though it wasn't founded by Google, I think it really was founded by Google because, again, they eventually sold to Google by the numbers, and it was established in a ritual by the numbers. I think that's how a lot of things in the internet. Remember, Google took over the world in 2001, the year of 9/11 and the new surveillance acts from the government. In the time of the cooties, they partnered up together to keep surveillance over everyone, see if they were following the rules and the lockdowns and the curfews, tracking them through the phone. Anyway, 113, big old number. And yeah. So, okay. So the federal investigation, which will be funded with our tax dollars, gets launched on tax day. Get it? Get the mockery? I mean, this is FU. This is FU from the people that run this nation. Wink, wink. Yeah, this federal investigation is going to cost us. Who knows what the tab will be on? I don't even want to estimate. It could be just some ridiculous thing that just totally blow your mind. But again, understand we're paying for this. First, we paid for the federal demolition of the bridge. Then we're going to pay for the rebuilding of the bridge and the port, as they've said, even more than what came down. And it's all in the name of world trade. You know what I mean? People not catching on the patterns. But now the federal investigation on tax day, just for some more, putting money in certain people's pockets. And again, you got this rigged system where all the cronies get put in and rake in off the people and have their cush jobs, and they're out golfing and having Republican softball practice day and another vacation. I mean, aren't they? It's like they're always on vacation. Their session's always ending. It's like, how many breaks do these people get? I'm here, and like, supposedly these are the patriots who want to serve their nation. Like, I feel like I'm demonstrating what that looks like. Is there anyone else in the world who's been here every day for over a decade? Except for the one day my house got ransacked and tore up, the only day I missed where I didn't put out new information to the world. Has there been anyone else here showing that they want to work every day, 24/7, 365 to stop what's going on? I mean, see, my politicians, they don't pick up the phone. They don't care. They don't call back. Haven't got shit figured out. We've been on top of it for a long time. These politicians, suppose they go out and have a fundraiser and raise tens of millions in a night. It's like we can't raise jack squat over. It's crazy, man. That's what we live in. But anyway, if we had funding like politicians, we'd have Gematria Effect News in every city. We would have Gematria Effect News flying in on the Gematria Effect News chopper to rain down on them what people need to wake up to, how this is all connected. We'd be given a broadcast right now if we had enough funding. All over. Gematria Effect News with the sound system chopper sweeping in to drop the message for the city. Anyway, back to reality. New York versus Donald J. Trump begins. Again, it began 60 days before Trump's birthday. This is the upcoming 60th election. His ex-wife died 45 years after their marriage, exactly 60 weeks into the Jesuit nation year. Things have been documenting over and over how from the first headline about New York being indicting Trump, it was all about 60 from the beginning. So here we are over a year later, and now it's 60 days before his birthday with the 60th election. Again, 60's been faithful with elections. 60th presidential election this year. 1860, Lincoln shot after the election. 1960, JFK shot after the election. Look into the original Jesuit order with 60 members. Order has that gematria 60. Again, this is all synced up with Trump's birthday, and it's all about Stormy Daniels. But we covered this yesterday. I don't want to go back over all of it and what it has to do with so many important things. This was yesterday's stream if you missed it. But yes, Donald Trump, his trial starts the same day. The same Donald Trump who was in Jerusalem for Jerusalem Day before he went and posed at the Vatican by the numbers, who had his hand on the Western Wall at Temple Mount in that Jerusalem Day visit. And then he renamed Jerusalem the capital. Again, Jerusalem equals 104, like Roman Catholic Church, like Trump's the godfather of the 10-4 alert in the U.S. They say he could be the Jewish Messiah. We are making this point. Donald Trump's visit to the Western Wall, May 22nd, 2017, and how August 11th, 2019 was 811 days later. Again, dig 811. This is Trump from that visit for Jerusalem Day. Donald Trump, the ad that was predicted programming for him being called President-elect November 9, 2016. This is years before it for CERTA. Just the 119 code. You see it, Orthodox, Starry David, Ashkenazi, you know who's. And again, just the word Nazis literally in that word, you guys. And the Nazis were modeled after the Jesuits, and Adolf supposedly committed suicide in a very clear Jesuit ritual, dying at 56, like Lincoln, who was shot in a theater, both men blamed for wars. 56, big with the Jesuits, thus the 56 signers on this nation's Declaration of Independence, when it's been Jesuits and Masons here the whole time, running the show. 56, the number to transform the nation after 9/11, and with the cooties. But yeah, Tisha B'Av that year. And Trump number 45, again, Holy Bible, 45 forwards and backwards like Mike Pence, Berlin Wall, Trump at the Western Wall. Bridge has that gematria 45 as well. Donald Trump, again, called the president-elect on the 27th anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall. Rituals 27 and 45 if you're new here. Gematria, so simple. Alphabetic order, forwards and backwards with numerology. 811's the 141st prime number. San Francisco, California's 141. This year, Canon Day, which is special to the Jesuits, is May 20th, which will be the 141st day of the leap year. Donald Trump's having that feud with Eileen Cannon, who first said she wanted to see him in court on May 20th, the anniversary of the death of Billy Cannon, the LSU great connected to Joe Burrow and their legacies. Again, the year that Joe Burrow lost to the Rams and Sean McVay with the Ukrainian fiance right after, Alec Baldwin smoked the Ukrainian woman on the set of Rust right before Ukraine-Russia broke out. Again, Joe Burrow lost in that Super Bowl, connected to Billy Cannon, and in those playoffs, he played four teams, the four teams that Billy Cannon was a member of, and Billy Cannon went to LSU and won the Heisman and the championship over Clemson, New Orleans, all just like Joe Burrow. Again, just shows you learn this, you see who's behind these jokes. Billy Cannon on Cannonball Day for the Jesuits, Eileen Cannon trying to get Trump in her courtroom on Cannon Day. Last year, the Cannon building evacuated in a big Jesuit joke. Cannons back in the day are guns, predictive programming, of just all kinds of cataclysms, you guys, including a big old earthquake, which we're getting to. But yeah, all these documentations are from back then. Jerusalem, damn. So you guys, that's part of it. Just the other day, it was 13/4, April 13th, the 13th of April, which was the 104th day of the leap year, and that's the day Iran attacked Israel. I forgot the Jerusalem Day is 134. Tisha B'Av's 134. Night the Az 134. The Jesuits is 134. Make America Great Again's one. There's so many 134s with Trump. That's the short list. Jared Kushner, Melania, Ivanka, a bunch of things. House of Cards again was that's another 134. The hit show. and the time that Trump was running for president. Trump took office on 58 date numerology. Again, he won the 58th election. He announced from the 58-story Trump Tower. There's a, if you guys don't know this, look it up. There's a commemorative coin you can buy in Israel that's raising money for eventually building the third temple. And notice how third temple, Herod's temple, Solomon's temple, Jerusalem, they're all 58. We were talking about how this NFL season ended with Super Bowl 58 on the Vatican's birthday, and it was the 104th NFL season. Jerusalem equals 58 and 104. When the war broke out in Israel, we were showing how it was right at the start of the football season and synced with that ritual with the Ravens in Baltimore and Pittsburgh and Mike Tomlin's win. These are all things we've been talking about. The Raven, this great tragedy. Revelation prophesizes this great tragedy to the destruction of the world, but for the believers, it's the time they ascend. And again, you guys, I mean, you can just see how they continue to play on these biblical rituals. The word biblical is 58 for the record. Holy Bible 45. Trump became number 45 in the 58th election. From Trump's birthday that year to the ritual at Temple Mount, where they nailed the worshipers, the Islamic worshipers, the Israeli Defense Force, the Israeli police, sprayed tear and pepper gas all over the protesters. And if you've never been hit with that stuff, it's nasty. I mean, it makes you choke, it burns. I mean, you're in a moment of worship, and then this is happening needlessly. Trump's son's name, Barron Trump, is 144. I'm just reading over this whole post. I'd forgotten that. From his birthday to that August 11th day was 144 days. Remember, the upcoming election this year, November 5th, is 144 days after Trump's birthday. RFK Jr. got in the race 144 days after the Superior General's birthday. RFK was killed at 1:44 a.m. That's the time he died. JFK was killed 144 days for meeting with the Pope. He lost his son before his death on August 9th, the day leaving 144 days left in the year. Last year in South America, major assassination on August 9th. We saw what they did with Shinzo Abe in Japan with the 144 ritual. Also with the leader of Haiti who was killed the other year in a 144 ritual. Jesuit Order 144 like the United States of America. Don't forget, Georgetown simulated that Biden would beat Trump 144 days before the 2020 election. Started June 12th, Transition Integrity Project. How old is Barron Trump now? Hold up. Let me see. Barron Trump is now 18 years old. The meaning of life in Judaism, 18. Born March 20th, 320, like Roman Catholic Church, 320. Like Jesus celebrated on 12/25 since 320 AD. He just turned 18. I need to look more into Barron Trump. That's why it's good to go over the old stuff. Forget things. Barron Trump the other way is also 141. Again, 811, the 141st prime. So yeah, again, the point is that TikTok, don't forget, TikTok equals 86. The president of that company is Singaporean, going with what they did with the Key Bridge. Time is a ticking. A bigger ritual is a coming. Another type of 9/11 that's really going to make war jump off. It's a coming. It'd be nice if it could be diverted for, a long period of time. But again, we're in a crucial moment right now with Israel being at the tail end of 75 years old. And turning 76, that's going to be symbolic. This nation since 1776. But anyway, the Illuminati founded in 1776. Illuminati equals 48, like Donald Trump, like Hollywood, like Israel since 48. Things getting crazy after the total solar eclipse of 4/8, when all eyes were on the 48th state in Arizona for the Final Four, after the 4.8 megaquake on Henrik Stenson's 48th birthday. It mattered because it was on Trump's golf course, the epicenter, and Henrik Stenson won the first tournament there. Exactly 88 weeks before the earthquake, when Trump equals 88, like weapon, like energy. Right before the 88th Masters, where the rookie Swede comes in second And the man who was born right by that golf course, Scotty Scheffler, whose name equals 88, wins the 88th Masters. I could go back over old posts of things they did with Trump and his golf outings, how they tied it in with world news. There's so many documentations on my current website and old website just about what's been going on. But yeah, again, understand all of these things coming together: Trump, the bridge, Israel, a greater war emerging. This is all what we've been talking about for all this time. Why that? If you guys don't know, that commemorative coin has Trump and King Cyrus on one side, and then the third temple on the other. And you buy that coin if you want to raise money to build the third temple, which they want to bring to Israel, which is supposed to bring about the Jewish Messiah. And then, like some people in certain circles think Trump is Messiah. All right, let me close some slides here so I can finish all the rest of the main points that need to be made. Again, you guys, Gematria, it's a real thing. The Secret Jewish History of 7/11 by the Jewish publication The Forward. Oh, and notice they published it on July 11th. We were talking about yesterday what that had to do with Tenet, the CIA guy, and why he left on that day, and how perfectly 9/11 was synced with him. Let's not forget Trump. He infamously mistaked September 11th as 7/11, kept calling it 7/11 in Buffalo, where Timothy McVeigh was from, who was the major terrorist right after the nation's first counterterrorism legislation. It was published on the Oklahoma governor's birthday, and it was brought to us by Joe Biden, who's the sitting president right now. And again, Oklahoma City blew up on Ignatius Loyola Day, April 19th, 95. But all these things are related. But Timothy McVeigh, who's responsible for that from Buffalo, Timothy McVeigh put to death 3 months before 9/11 when the three towers fell, 3 months later, while he was 33 years old. McVeigh born in 68, the same year World Trade Center construction began. Muhammad Atta was born. 9/11 became the emergency dialing code, and so on. The year the Quran code was discovered, it says the Quran's all about 19, and they had to tell you 19 hijackers on 9/11. People inventing the his story. But anyway, 7/11 day, consider for a moment that the convenience the store brings is based upon gematria, or the hidden meaning of numbers in Judaism. The hidden meaning of numbers. Again, you guys, I started reading about this. I finally came across this in 2013, trying to figure out what it was with numbers and rituals in the world, from news to sports, and boom, found the right word, and the rest is history. But yeah, August 11th. I got to check something real quick. What day Tisha B'Av falls in this year? It's always depends on the moon. But Tisha B'Av 2024, I'm just curious what day it is this year. August 12th. Funny, it's close this year. It's not far off from August 11th. Sometimes it's at a much different date. It can fall in July. It can fall, I believe, in September. So it all depends on the moon. But the second day of Tisha B'Av's 13/8. Donald Trump's 138, like federal. Like We Are 138, the Misfits song. It's another number. Remember the Nationals. Nationals equals 138, like their manager, Dave Martinez, is 138. We made a lot of money off the Nationals beating the Astros in that World Series in Game 7, something we called before the playoffs were set, and the Nationals had even clinched their playoff spot. But again, that World Series was synced up with Trump. It was the 115th, like he took office with the 115th Congress in the Masonic City when Masonics 115, and American baseball's credited the Mason Abner Doubleday. But 115th World Series won by the Nationals 138 days after Trump's birthday. Donald Trump 138, Nationals 138, Dave Martinez 138. Huge skull and bones ritual too that year. A lot to explain about it, but I'm going to keep it there for now. Anyway, second day of Tisha B'Av this year is 13/8. That's interesting because Trump is so central to this. That'll be, a little less than 3 months before Election Day. For all you guys who wake up and then learn about red, they're always doing major rituals with red heifers. The prophecy of the red heifer also goes with the third temple. I know this year the red heifers came from Texas, the Lone Star State. It reminds that Netanyahu came back on 12/29, which is Texas's birthday. So I can look more at the red heifers from Texas this year to Israel, because something is obviously going on with that. And let's not forget that December 29th is also Albert Pike's birthday, the important Mason, who wrote the letter about 3 world wars. Now the third one would have to do with political Zionism, and he published it on August 15th, which is the Jesuit order's birthday, when they were born in Paris, France. But yeah, this is an old post from 2019. I published this July 28, 2019. just going over all the things that for why we were focused on August 11th. And here's what drives me nuts, you guys. If you were on YouTube back then, you might recall that there was all this hype for August 11th, 2019. All that hype did start through yours truly, because I've been covering it for all of 2018 and 2019, putting all these pieces together and why it's pointing to that date. And I kept talking about Temple Mount centrally and how something could also happen potentially at the Golden Gate in San Francisco that day. If you go back to what the news story was out of San Francisco for August 11th, 2019, you'll see that there was a shooting at a McDonald's on Golden Gate Avenue. So that's how San Francisco was involved in the news, with McDonald's, the Golden Arches, Golden Gate Bridge, big arches. But it was Taiwan's Golden Gate that was really the ritual for, again, the crazy protest that happened that day out there. And I got to be honest, I wasn't aware that there was a Golden Gate Island off the coast of Taiwan until that day when it was all over the news. And I said, holy shit, this is how they did it. But the point I'm getting to is what really annoyed me is like bigger channels. It was obvious everyone started copying August 11, 2019 as this important date through my research, because nobody was talking about this for a year. But then probably about 4 or 5 months before August 11th came around, bigger channels started to talk about how the Golden Gate Bridge was going to blow up on August 11th, 2019. And everyone was showing like the predictive programming in movies. So it was obvious that like, okay, now people are putting this out as this huge hype for the Golden Gate Bridge to blow up on August 11, 2019. The main focus of my work was to keep eyes on Al-Aqsa Mosque on August 11, 2019. If you guys forgot, Notre Dame caught on fire in Paris, and the same day Al-Aqsa Mosque caught on fire the exact same day. If you look, the Templars are behind Notre Dame, and the Templars used Al-Aqsa Mosque as their base during the Crusades. But that was a big 118 ritual. It was 118 days before August 11th. I think that was actually the video that made other big channels start to talk about August 11th. But again, these bigger channels didn't give any credit to me and only made it about the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. So then what happened is when August 11th, 2019 came and passed and the Golden Gate Bridge didn't blow up and all these big channels brought only attention to that one potential aspect, which I talked about as a long shot. But then people are coming back and be like, oh, nothing happened to the Golden Gate Bridge on August 11, 2019. And I was like, okay, that wasn't the big focus. The big focus was Al-Aqsa Mosque, where a terrible thing did happen. And, God, the New Zealand mosque shootings that year on the Ides of March were in the 8011 area. There were just so many things, you guys. I probably don't even have all the documentations here, but just Trump in the Third Temple. And for the record, Israel in Hebrew equals the same thing as it does in English, which equals Zion, which equals Western Wall, which equals Trump's Jesuit education at Fordham beginning in 64, like how all these things are 64. But let me see if I got it here. There's a lot to this. Yeah, I just want you to see the coin. Trump with King Cyrus, because they both said Jerusalem is the home of the Jews. And, Temple coins got that 158, like the Jesuits' birthday, 15/8. This year, Tisha B'Av falls right before the Jesuit birthday. Temple coin equals Donald equals Zionist equals Judaism equals Catholicism equals 112, which is the Balfour Declaration date. The Jesuits claim to operate in 112 nations. Again, Israel was clearly created in a very Jesuit Catholic code, as we talked about so many times. 145 more chapters in the Old Testament. Catholic equals 145. Israel created 14/5. David Ben-Gurion, 145. And everything else, the 201s, the rest of it. Everything going on with Netanyahu, other leaders of that nation. So, yeah, there's a lot of old information here. The date the news of the Temple coin broke to August 11, 2019 was exactly 75 weeks. New World Order, 75, order out of chaos. Catholic Church, order. Remember, Israel is 75 right now, and so is the Superior General. And this post that it used to link to is now deleted by Google because they bought the rights to this blog, and they've deleted a lot of posts, but not all of them. I imagine someday everything I have on here will be gone, and that's sad. But again, anyone can look it up. New World Order, Pledge to Jews, October 6, 1940. Real headline, 75 date numerology. I was just talking about this with Jesse on the Missing Link Live. And Anyway, the date of that article about the temple coin had 46 date numerology. King Cyrus, Temple Mount, Catholic, religion, all 46. Chaos, 46. We're in the time of Joe Biden, number 46, elected exactly 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday, the second Catholic president. The first JFK was killed at 46. Remember when Trump took office? It was 70 years, 7 months, and 7 days into his office, and order out of chaos is 777. Yeah, London Breed, born August 11th in 74. She's going to turn 50 this year on August 11th. 50 special in Judaism. That's a jubilee, 50 years. A jubilee for the Jews, 50 years, special. America equals 50. Circle equals 50. Washington equals 50. Jesuits equals 50. Of course, San Francisco equals 50. Satanic equals 50. The Church of Satan founded in San Francisco. In 66, like Revelation, the 66th book of the Bible in Protestant Bibles. Number of the beast, 66. New Testament, 66. Math, 66. The one who can calculate can figure out who the beast is. You see what I mean? Beast equals Vatican equals 47. First Super Bowl, when everyone's so fixated. Every year, just evil shit in the halftime show. Same this year. They got Usher doing confessions on the Vatican's birthday. You wonder how they're the greatest intelligence agency in the world. They got priests who are getting all these secrets admitted to them. They're supposed to remain secrets. You know, that's not the case. Anyway, it's just so obvious how the Catholic Church dominates the world, how spread out they are, the calendar, the language, the order, the hospitals, the school systems, the Jesuits who've been warned about by the founders of this country and elsewhere who've been banned. Even the Jesuit, or even the Pope had to suppress them for a while. Funny enough, suppressed for 41 years in the time this nation was formed, and USA equals 41. And then they were unsuppressed 144 days after James Madison's birthday, the only 201 president in history, when 201 and 144 are high calling cards of the Jesuits. That year, the year they did that at Temple Mount, she turned 45 that day. Golden Gate, Holy Bible 45. Again, now this ritual coming back all this time with Palestine and the Golden Gate and the protest yesterday by the numbers. She's going to turn 50 later this year. Magic number. 5 years later. London Breed replaced Edwin Ma Lee, who dropped dead unexpectedly. They're both 54 forwards and backwards like Jesuit order. Again, always talking about the same things. 54, 144. Ed Lee, also 104, like Jerusalem. Had to get him out of here to get in the symbolic piece. London Breed, like London Bridge. When London controlled Israel and Palestine during the World Wars and then handed it over to the Jews after World War in what came out of a decade's agenda from the Balfour Declaration. Made out to a dear Lord Rothschild who died on his 201st day of his age. Just like if you're new here, 201, there's a reason the first Jesuit Pope lives in Suite 201, and there's a reason like 201's all over the beginning of this nation, the establishment of Israel, and so many other things. The Holy Bible equals 201, like the Jesuit order, like a million other things that are part of their order. And the biblical prophecy. Jewish mysticism equals 201, the original knowledge of letters and numbers. Yeah, born in 74, too, is London Breed. London, Masonic, English, Lucifer, Jewish, Messiah. I don't know why I didn't put it on the list, but killing's another one. Again, this war in Israel started while Gaza Strip was 74 years old. Netanyahu's 74 right now. Remember the ritual they did with Chuck Schumer and Netanyahu for the Ides of March this year? The Ides of March to remember the killing of Caesar on the 74th day of the year when both killing and stabbing equals 74. 3 of the first 5 presidents in this nation dead on 7/4. Holiday 74 like Independence Day, like Roman. London was a Roman fortress in the time of their world dominance, European dominance, however far their dominance really went. We can't really know anything officially about history as much as we've been lied to and things have been altered and deleted and changed. We can get the idea that there's been ruling empires dominating a lot of people with military and rules and laws that they make. 21 movies where Hollywood destroys San Francisco. How about 21 for the 21st century, right? Jesuit 21. The Rock, so central to what they did in Maui. If you missed the work on Maui. Again, you know, the reason we need a team of people, God, maybe it could even be a short-term team. I feel like what has to happen at the very least for a written gematria publication is at the end of the year, a group of great gematria minds has to come together and create a published written work and a short gematria film recapping like the top story of each month, which might be hard some months because there's so many big things. But in March, it would be easy to have the key bridge be the story for March, just like a recap of the importance of why this knowledge showed through the most important things that happened and why we needed to see through it. Because we're getting again, you guys, it's like when they take down these structures purposefully, it creates a huge expense for us that makes a certain profit for a certain people, and they always figure out a way to undermine our rights and liberties. And, part of when they rebuild the Baltimore port, it might be like super surveillance, which some people will really like, but then maybe other people who will starve because of that super surveillance, who the only way they've been able to survive for all their life is hustling from the port. Again, people are like, well, Stilling's bad. I agree. Stilling's not good, but this system's also controlled by evil people, and they make sure there's just an unnecessarily amount of poor people who are destroyed on purpose so that they can maintain ruling. At some point, you got to let those people who are starving get back what they got to get back. I don't know. It's complicated. The world's not black and white. Stilling's not good. I'm not advocating for Stilling, but I'm just saying, like, if somebody can steal from the port to survive, and those are the only two options because of what this world's done to them. And that's not to make excuses either, but the world does do certain things to certain groups of people a lot worse than it does others. And you should be able to understand that. But again, just this surveillance state controlled by a murderous cabal that doesn't have any, well, I shouldn't say they don't have any ethics, but their ethical code is bad. Anyway, yeah, this is another one of these things where they've been telling us forever, like, it's coming. And the thing about August 11th is that's the day in history that HARP was patented in 87. The Pope's 87 right now. Ignatius Loyola equals, funny enough, in Gematria, Ignatius Loyola equals 87 forwards, it's actually 75 forwards, 87 in reverse, 75, 87. Right now we're in the time of the first Jesuit Pope. The Superior General is always Jesuit, but it's the first time the popes from Latin America and the Superior General from the Americas. One is 75, one's 87. Catholic Church equals 75. The Catholic Church equals 87. Again, Ignatius Loyola is the founder of the Jesuits. Israel's 75 right now, born the same year as Israel was born in 48, the same year as the Superior General. But again, 75, 87, these key figures, they're this age right now. We saw what they just did to Francis Ford Coppola's wife at 87, 117 days after the Pope's birthday when the Godfather's 117. Like Central Intelligence Agency, which is also 243, and that movie, The Godfather, came out on 24/3. Anyway. The Golden Gate, like I said, the only ways that it could really come down are a crazy earthquake, August 11th, the HARP anniversary, an act of terrorism, pro-Palestinians, or warfare. Because in warfare, you target bridges to destroy the enemy's infrastructure. And again, you can see the narratives that are being created in this world where those things could possibly happen. The ritualistic earthquakes, the one that just happened on Trump's course, where they're saying could be Messiah and Revelation. You got all these prophecies come together, earthquakes, fire from the sky, warfare, good versus evil. But yeah, I was making the point that this year on August 11th this was CNN's front page all day on August 11th, the anniversary of HARP's patent. There's so many things about what they did to Lahaina, but Lahaina's got that 44, that number of destruction connected to HARP and military and killing and so many things. And yeah, they were focused on Puamana, which has the same thing as arson. And again, there's a million more things to what they did in Lahaina. It's sick. But yeah, that was the anniversary of HARP. August 11th, the anniversary every year. What could we be looking at this year on August 11th? And the sad thing is, August 11th might come and pass, and it might be dead on like everything we're talking about. And we'll see like no comments about anyone like, damn, Zach, you called it again. Great work. We'll see a bunch of troll comments like, oh, after the fact, Zach, because that's what the big tech does. Big tech has ruined this channel. Do you guys know how many views my videos were getting in 2018 after I'd already had like nearly 20 channels deleted? My comeback in 2018 covering this, I was getting hundreds of thousands of views per video on this subject. Videos that got upwards of 1 million views on this subject. Watch, this video is going to get like, who knows, 3,000 views. That's where we are now with this Jesuit-controlled big tech machine in 2024. The work's never been on point. There's never been a greater body of evidence to prove exactly what I've been talking about all these years. But somehow now we get about one viewer for every 50 viewers we used to get. That's the problem. That's the problem. Yeah, again, you guys, I mean, this stuff is just it's so in your face. You know, after Trump was in Jerusalem for Jerusalem Day at the Western Wall, that's the day he posed with the at the Vatican with the Pope. Remember the picture where it looks like everybody's dressed for a funeral? The only one smiling, he's more like he's grinning is Trump. The poop has the did I call him the poop? The Pope has the poopy pants face. That picture is from the 144th day of the year. Here, let me just search Trump, Pope, Melania. This should be enough. Ivanka's there too. But yeah, in case you forgot this image, this is from the 144th day of the year. The poop. Maybe that's a better name for him. Mutilate their word sorcery. He's not the Pope, he's the poop. Look at him. I mean, what kind of photo is this? And with regards to the 144, I got to go back and check, but I remember when Trump's ex-wife fell down the stairs, there was 144 in it. And of course, they buried her on the 201st day of the year. They had their first Trump Jr. on the 201st day of Trump's age. Their wedding was officiated by a man with the 201 Gematria, so prominent with those Jesuits, like Pope Francis' birth name, Jorge Mario Bergoglio's 201, like the Jesuit order, like Ignatius Loyola, like a million other things. Biden gave up his wife and family and son in 201 rituals. You guys are all in the Jesuit club. So yeah, this was the most popular image, and it's like, what are they trying to convey with that one? But yeah, just think about it now. Everything we talk about in 2019, think about it right now in light of 2024. What's going on with China, Taiwan? What's going on with Trump? Civil war. Again, the Jesuit, all this civil war stuff, this division, this divisiveness. I mean, Taiwan and China, isn't that in a way like a civil war? These are people that used to be one. Now they're so divided. Now there's threats of a major war over it, potentially world war. Same thing down in Israel, where we came in after a world war over this great division. Had a lot to do with religion. Then we go down in Israel and create more religious chaos. Now all these things is coming to this perfect climax. While Israel's 75, New World Order 75, Order out of Chaos 75, Roman Catholic 75, Catholic Church 75, Order 75, the Superior General 75, Israel 75. I mean, could it be any more obvious? The Francis Scott Key Bridge. Here, let me see. Was it Salvador Dali or Francis Scott Key himself? Francis Scott Key died January 11th. The bridge came down on the 86th day of the year, 75 days later. Order out of chaos. Create the problem, provide the solution. Baltimore, Edgar Allan Poe, his death anniversary. Again, was the day the war broke out, October 7th. October 7th, 107. The word military equals 107. It's the day leaving 85 days left in the year. Templar, 85. The modern day Israel has a lot to do with the history of the Templars because they called Temple Mount their headquarters. He died at age 40. Remember, they used Title 40 to declare the war in Israel. Zionism. It's Zionist. Zionist equals 40. So United States is 40. U.S. is 40. Old Testament's 40. Another special number. It's 40 years since Orwell's 1984. Remember, right at the time all this was going down, Netflix put out the show The Fall of the House of Usher, and that was based on Edgar Allan Poe's work. You're having the big ritual with that show. It's the hit show. It's about a family that sold their souls to Satan for power and fame, and it's obvious that they play on the Sackler family connection because they show that they killed a lot of people with fraudulent medicine that made them rich and took the lives of many. Big hit show at the beginning of this year on Netflix. I forget the author that has so many of his books made into Netflix shows, but at the beginning of the year, big hit show. One of his books made into a new show, and it's about a detective who's dying from the medicine of this fraudulent medicine family that sells bad products and murders people who uncover the crimes they're up to in the name of wealth and power. And then the detective who's trying to solve one of these murders doesn't realize that he's dying because of this pharmaceuticals family's drugs. That was the ultimate plot twist in it. It's just like, and I mean, the Sacklers are Ashkenazi. You know what I mean? It was the Nazis who wanted to do medical experiments and force medicine on people to control people. And then you got the Aldous Huxleys of the world, and the George Orwells, who are members of these powerful secret societies like the Fabians, writing these books about a future where people are controlled over with fear, propaganda, war. They're made to be medicated. You're ridiculed by your peers if you don't go along with the authorities. That's why I recognize this is the way the world was right after 9/11. I mean, it just all clicked on me. We had to read these books in high school. And here was going on when I became a freshman in 2001 at Arizona State University, and I had this rich kid from New York as a roommate in my dorm. Well, we weren't roommates, but he lived in the dorm room directly across from me. He was always over in our room. His name was Stewart, and his dad was a rich lawyer in New York. And Stewart was just instantly the drug dealer, and he was just slinging these little blue pills everywhere that they called somas. And I didn't want any somas. I was like, why the hell would I want to take something called soma? Everyone was doing it. It made you feel real lax, I guess. But I was like, I don't want to take any somas. Didn't you guys just read Brave New World? That's what they made you take. You had to take the soma, so you were all out of it. I mean, Stewart, rich kid. He's buying up all the tickets for the World Series with the Diamondbacks, bragging about how much he's selling these tickets for. He's got $10,000, and I'm like, I see how the rich get richer. Damn, he can afford to buy all those tickets, and he's selling. He's flaunting $10,000 and pills of soma. He's selling drugs. He already has a rich dad. I'm just like, God, don't you already have enough money? Can't your dad just give you some money so you don't have to sell some drugs? But anyway, all that was just like in the weeks before 9/11 happened. And I was just like, I just saw it all instantly. I was the bad guy for questioning 9/11. Everyone and their mom hated me. I couldn't say it to anyone. I had people that wanted to fight because I'm questioning what happened on 9/11. Then a week, everybody's driving around with a Osama bin Laden face on the back of their car with a target over it. Next thing you know, everyone's got a yellow sticker on their car. Just like, look at these people. Don't question, follow, same stickers, same behavior. Yeah, anyway, I just been following the pieces of the puzzle since 9/11, and I know we figured it out in a big way. And again, like I said, you guys don't live in fear, but again, the one thing about World War is it hasn't impacted the states yet. And I have a feeling if it did come to the states and we're on the big precipice of something like a world war, if they're really going to take it there, another part of me goes, do they even have to do that? Do they have to have a world war like the last ones? I mean, they can just use their weather weapons and destroy places and rebuild it. I mean, that's one of their main primary obstacles in war is just to create destruction so that governments need loans from central banks to rebuild. So it's like, do we even have to have wars like this anymore? I mean, the New World Order's here. Maybe the World War is just carried out for the next 100 years with major acts of weather warfare, and nobody knows the difference. Got to keep giving up more rights and liberties to fight the earthquake change. Let's be calling it the earthquake change, like the climate change. It's the earthquake change. Yeah, it just took out a whole nother city earthquake change. You guys remember that stupid horror movie from years ago, The Cabin in the Woods? If you haven't seen it, it's like a dumb horror movie, but you should watch it. It's about a cabin in the woods, and below it is a CIA building. And every year the CIA has to lure teenagers out there to kill them to appease the beast god that'll destroy the world if it's not fed this teenage blood each year during spring break. And yeah, it's messed up. Like the CIA employees are like betting on which teen's going to die first. And part of the premise of the story is there's a new CIA employee there. Remember, the CIA was established in 47, like beast equals 47, like government, like authority. But there's a new employee there, and you can tell he comes like with some moral character, some ethics, and he really doesn't like what he's seeing. He can't believe that you can tell he's like the guy who signed up to serve his government. Like, what the hell is this? Sacrificing kids? You guys are having an office pool on it? guys are laughing when these kids get slaughtered and you're watching it on surveillance? No, the movie's messed up, but it's like, see, this is why Hollywood does this. Because to an extent, there's a level of truth to it. It's why they're so ritualistic about the dates of their false flags and their repetitive patterns. And, oh, this is my old blog. This post we just had up to start. Again, if you guys got here late, this is where we started. You're going to want to watch this stream from the beginning, because if you got here late, it's like it has to be watched from the beginning. But again, for years, we've been talking about the connection between the Golden Gate at Temple Mount in Jerusalem and the Golden Gate Bridge. And yesterday, you have pro-Palestinian protesters shutting down the Golden Gate Bridge on 15/4, Temple Mount 154. Remember, ritual sacrifice is 154. We talked about what they did with the boxer yesterday who died in the obvious ritual sacrifice ritual. 154 big way, 73 small way. He was dead 73 days after his birthday. It wasn't just the Golden Gate Bridge they shut down. They shut down roadways all throughout the nation. And they also shut down the IA, the Bay Bridge, or did I say IA? The I-880. 880. Remember, 88. Remember, Maryland equals 88. So does Maritime. They decided who had the financial penalty based on the 88-year-old law with Maryland. And California is also 88. It's a number connected to earthquakes. We just talked about how Trump had the earthquake on his course 88 weeks to the day after the first pro tournament there. And the guy who won that tournament, the earthquake happened on his 48th birthday, a 4.8 when Donald Trump's 48, but Trump's 88, Energy's 88, Weapons 88. Earthquake in Satanic Gematria is 457, the 88th prime. Jewish equals 88. Again, a protest against Jewish Israel by Palestinians on the Golden Gate on this symbolic date that fits in with Temple Mount. Again, the Catholic calendar given to us by the Jesuits, the language by the Jesuits. Who could possibly be syncing up all these rituals? Temple Mount is contested largely because of the history of the Catholic Church and the Templars and what still remains within Catholic and Jewish and other spiritual circles about those who still believe that that is the real site where Solomon's temple and Herod's temple were destroyed. And don't forget that on 9/11, again, those towers came down on the New Year's Day of the Christian Coptic calendar. Some people think that's Jesus' real birthday, September 11th. Christian Coptics, that's New Year's Day. And on that day, the third building to fall, Building 7, was the Solomon Brothers building. Again, Tisha B'Av, to remember the destruction of the two temples, equals 9/11 in Jewish gematria. The two towers come down on 9/11, and then later that day, the smaller building, Solomon Brothers building, falls. So yeah, I hope I'm making the point clear. I look out; it says between the three streams between the three platforms I'm streaming on right now, there's 720 people watching. That's what it says. When I was doing live streams on this topic on just one channel back in 2018, there were thousands of people in every stream on just one channel. Between three getting 700, that's not bad. That's like a quarter. But again, in terms of total views, like back then, those videos would end up getting, by the end of it, 300,000 views, sometimes 500,000 views. One of them got nearly 1 million views. But like literally every video I was putting out on that subject when I came back from 2018 up through 2019 would always get at least in the neighborhood of 100,000 views. I haven't had 100,000 views, you guys, since the start of 2021. It was my videos put out right at the beginning of the year on what they were going to do on January 6th and how they were going to pay tribute to the Civil War and how it was going to be synced with the Albert Pike statue collapse after the George Floyd protests when George Floyd was killed on Memorial Day, which came out of the Civil War. I did some really great videos about the Jesuits and 201 and the Civil War in Lincoln. And those videos got 100,000 views by about January 8th because people saw that what I said about what was coming on January 6th. I explained how it was simulated at Jesuit Georgetown with the Transition Integrity Project. Again, you guys, they literally simulated before any of that happened at Georgetown. Look it up. Transition Integrity Project. They simulated Biden narrowly winning the election, Trump refusing to step down, and it leading to deadly violence in America. Now all these crazy things happen as they put out the Civil War movie on the anniversary of the start of the American Civil War. It was the 163rd anniversary, like Barack Hussein Obama equals 163 from the land of Lincoln, Joe Biden's wingman. Isn't it crazy how when they gave us Obama, then they started making this hyper focus on the media on racial divisiveness like we hadn't seen since the early 90s with Rodney King and O.J. Simpson and Jeffrey Dahmer in these stories? And now at this moment, now we got another Milwaukee cannibal who's a racist. O.J.'s dead. And just stories like Rodney King all the time now. You know what I mean? But I'm being so tangential. Anyway, if you guys got here late, again, compare it to this headline right here. Palestinian. This is from 2019, February 2019. Palestinians say Israel playing with fire by closing Temple Mount Gate. That was the 50th day of the year. San Francisco equals 50. Again, London Breed about to turn 50 on August 11th. You guys got here late. You want to catch everything from the beginning of this stream. But yeah, just about Temple Mount and how this thing's so central to this world prophecy that they're, subtly waving in front of everyone's face. Now it's being contrived. Again, the temple was of central importance in Jewish worship in the Tanakh, which is the Old Testament. In the New Testament, Herod's temple was the site of several events in the life of Jesus, and Christian loyalty to the site as a focal point remained long after his death. So again, that's also what brings together Zionism, the support of a Jewish state that can eventually bring about this prophecy of the third temple. And again, just a lot of people accepting that, yes, this is the true history. This is the true site. This eventually needs to happen. It's prophecy. It's been foretold by God. It must come. There's certain people who want to, again, force this agenda into being. Look up the show Dig. Again, it's about Zionists blowing up the Temple Mount. And you know what? Let me just try and pull up my old post on Dig, actually. Hopefully this one's still here. Sometimes I search and the posts are just completely gone. All right. The TV show Dig and August 11, 2019, very likely Temple Mount, the coming disaster. We didn't know how bad it was going to be. It ended up being, again, gas and pepper spray all over Muslim worshipers. But like I said, this thing, they're building still towards this thing. I mean, I'm glad Temple Mount didn't blow up today. But like I said back then, we that means we still got time to stop what they're foretelling is coming. Let me see. So here's the plot for this show. Jerusalem may be the holiest city on earth, but it's hiding an unholy secret. When FBI agent Peter Connolly takes a job in Israel to leave personal demons behind, he is assigned to investigate a young American's murder there. While trying to figure out what happened to the American, Connolly becomes embroiled in a conspiracy thousands of years in the making that has the potential not only to reveal some of the city's darkest secrets, but also to change the course of history. As Connolly tries to piece everything together under the guidance of new boss and occasional lover Lynn Monahan, he soon realizes that he might not be the only person looking for answers. The 10-episode thriller was created by Tim Kring and Gideon Raff, producers behind the hit series Heroes and Homeland, respectively. But yeah, again, in the plot, Zionists want to blow up the Temple Mount. And the first episode was on 3/5. Catholics 35, right? Satan's also 35. Special number 35. You could also write that date 5/3 like religion's 53. And then the final episode was May 7th. Jews is 57, but you can also write that day 7/5 like 75, like how Israel's 75 right now. Again, New World Order, order out of chaos. Catholic Church, Roman Catholic, the word order alone, all 75. Israel pledged to the Jews in the New York Times, controlled by Jesuits on October 6, 1940. A date was 75 numerology. Like I said back then, who pledged it? I mean, the only pledge that only makes sense is this coming from the Jesuits. They run the paper that ran that headline. But this is not the post I wanted. Or maybe it is. Israel, Zion, Thelema, do what thou wilt. They're all 64. So it ended a span of 64 days from the anniversary. Could also say 63 days later. Rabbinic Judaism, most common form of Judaism today. May 7th, the end date, 127th day of the year. Again, major tragic number connected to destruction. Pearl Harbor Day, December 7th, 127. 9/11, the new Pearl Harbor, buildings 1, 2, and 7 fell. What they just did in Lahaina had everything to do with 127. If you do not know my work on that, go back and check it out. It's sick. And it was synced up with Pearl Harbor, also in Hawaii. And on and on and on. 127 is the 31st prime, 31 is the 11th prime. It comes back to 11, the master number. It's the day leaving 238 days left in the year. That number was huge when Afghanistan's government collapsed on the Jesuit order's birthday, August 15th. Oh, in light of it, and beginning on the 5/3 date, Temple Mount's also 53, like religion. And religion's also 127, like it ended on the 127th day of the year. Temple is 71. 71 is the 20th prime. Dig is 20. To the Muslims, it's known as Haram Esh Sharif, which is 71, like Temple. The incident on August 11, 2019, there was 231 weeks after the show came out. Ignatius of Loyola is 231. That's the 21st triangular number. Jesuits 21, so was Bible. From the end of the show to that date was 222 weeks. The Order Out of Chaos number as well. Order Out of Chaos, also 222. If you don't know about my work on coronavirus and 9/11 and why the pandemic was declared 222 months after the towers came down, you got to check that out. New York, 222. Wuhan, coronavirus, 222. Order Out of Chaos. Superior General. Big pattern. As above, so below. Again, August 11th. This year, it's right before Tisha B'Av, but it is the anniversary of
90 seconds.
Oh, snap. I've been going that long. Hey, if anybody wants to call in, you guys, you got to dial this number right now. You got 90 seconds if you heard that lady's voice. Dial that number. You just got to get in before the time runs out. 563 999 3532. 563 999 3532. If you want to call in and add something here and be part of this stream, now is the time. 60 seconds. You got to call in before, as long as you get in before the timer runs out, you can participate in the show. So the number's on the screen, 563 999 3532. Take some calls and then wrap this thing up. Dome of the Rock is 138, another name for the site there. Or the Dome of the Rock is there at the Temple Mount. And remember, this year Tisha B'Av ends on 13/8. Dome of the Rock's also 60 in light of the 60th election upcoming. Donald Trump is 60. Again, his head's on the coin to raise money to build the third temple. Yeah, again, it's a countdown, you guys. These people are patient, but they're taking us to this event. They got this event planned. They have it marked on their calendar. They know when it is that they're going to pull the button. And again, what will happen is another needless war, and they'll have used the divisions and in people to again manipulate humanity for their agenda as they gain more power and control over the world, and we lose everything from our loved ones to our land to our property. Not everybody, just like in the world wars, didn't happen to everybody, but there will be people it happens to. And the one thing is, it hasn't happened in America yet. And something tells me if it comes to America, it's us on the West Coast who get the worst of it. With this also being connected to China and Taiwan and their Golden Gate. Again, the largest Chinese population in the world outside of mainland China is in San Francisco. So Portland, one of the bigger cities on the West Coast, known as RIP City, RIP City. It's like, what kind of name is that? I was pointing that out back in 2013 before it fell to Antifa. So All right, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 callers. So there's 6 of you on hold. We're going to go through all of them. If you guys can keep your call to 2-3 minutes, we'll get through everybody here. And just so you guys know what order you're in: 559, 602, 531, 215, 903, 505. That's the order. Again, 2-3 minutes. Let me make sure I got it on the right audio setting for this. Wonder if I've been on the wrong audio setting the whole time and just holding the mic needlessly. Oh, no, I haven't. I've been on the right one. Okay. Over, though. We're switching mics. I'm not going to sound as clear, but the callers are going to sound better. So let's go out to 559. You're on.
Hey, Zach. Good morning. My question right now, have you ever looked into Francis Bacon and the Bible cipher?
Well, we've looked a lot into Francis Bacon. He was a practitioner of this Gematria code. And again, a lot of people think Francis Bacon was William Shakespeare. The cipher that we learned in the early days, there were 2 ciphers that we learned in the early days that were attributed to him, and that was lowercase a through lowercase z's 1 through 26, and uppercase a through uppercase z's 27 to 52. And then another ciphers like the one you would see in an elementary school classroom where it's capital A, lowercase a, capital B, lowercase b, and capital A would be 1, and then lowercase a would be 2, and then capital B would be 3, and lowercase b would be 4. So those were the ciphers that we learned about in the early days that we attributed to Francis Bacon. But what's the one you're talking about?
Well, he's credited with like being the originator of the English language, and so you know if you think
that's
about
hold on, that's not true. That's not true what you just said. He's not known as being the originator, but he's known as popularizing it along with William Burns, and they think he had a lot of contributions in terms of how modern languages, and a lot of people think he wrote the King James Bible or is the main architect behind the King James Bible, and there's supposedly several writers. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So the thing about it is the idea of just the English language, just these patterns of A, B, C, like, you know, it's all vibration. But let's go to the idea of like the fact that this is a code, and Francis Bacon was like a key to understanding that all of these different languages are just some kind of ciphers in itself. Like my question right now, I'll just leave it with this. Do you think that this applies to other languages as well? Do they do this to Mexican media? Do they do this to Chinese media? Is it just
so? Again, I'm going to remind. I don't speak other languages. We've had people. The question you're asking, 1 million people have asked over the years. So I know you're newer here, so welcome to the channel. But we've literally had people who speak Spanish who for a while started making contributions and going through their language and noticing the amazing synchronicities between certain words and patterns. So I do think this is going on in other languages. But the point I always make is in the 16th century, this language was standardized with the 26-letter alphabet, and the Gregorian calendar was established. And again, I think this is the language that is written about in the Georgia Guidestones that say unite the world in a new living language, because English is the language taught everywhere in the world. And again, it's just so perfectly synced with the calendar. So, but yeah, I do think that, again, the idea of letters and numbers goes back to Hebrew and ancient Greek, which are very old alphabets. And a lot of these Latin languages are a lot newer. And again, Latin, we learn about Latin and Roman numerals. So I would assume that all the Latin languages probably have some sort of numerical sequence behind the words.
And do you think that there's like actual like people that are writing these journalists? Are these journalists in on it?
So again, hold on. I got to answer for your question already. Back in 2016, I did a podcast with Crow 777, and Crow 777 used to work in journalism. And he said the reason he got out of it way back when he did is because they were starting to get these articles to write where already the majority of the article was written, and they just needed to fill in a few blank spots to make their article a little bit different from everyone else's. And he didn't like having to go through this being journalism, just like filling in the blanks for what they already want him to write. But you see how the media is all on the same talking points, and this is what's going on. And it just hearing him talk about that reminded me at the time of why I got out of teaching. I mean, teachers today aren't really teachers. They get the curriculum that they're supposed to teach exactly how it's like this. And it's like back in the day, you hired intelligent people who could share with younger people their knowledge and skills and help make them, you know, a greater achievement. Now it's just everybody's just reading from the script and just doing what they're told. And again, that's what they've done with the indoctrination system. You have to look at the way the world actually is. You're calling in and asking questions that people have asked a million times, and that's fine. I've talked about these things a million times. But it's like I learned when I was a teenager that doctors actually weren't that smart. And how did I learn that? I learned that because my brother-in-law, who'd married my sister, who was about 15 years older than me. Actually, he's more than 20 years older than me now that I think about it. My sister's more than 10 years older, and he's 10 years older than her. Yeah, he's like 27 years older than me. I'm 40. He's 62, right? Actually, he just turned 63 this year. But anyway, the point I'm making is what I learned is just how ignorant he was. He didn't know anything about nutrition. And I'd been studying a lot about food. I knew so much more about food and nutrition when I was a teenager than when he was a doctor. And I was telling him that I think he ate candy all the time like it was nothing. And I'd tell him, I was like, I don't think you should be eating all that candy. Well, what's funny is as time went on, he got really sick and he needed all these surgeries. And now he's dying from cancer at a relatively young age. But he started to eat like me about 10 years later after he learned about food and nutrition. And I knew I've always been arrogant because I've realized most people just aren't that smart. And the thing my brother-in-law will tell you is he said the only reason that he's a doctor is because he was born into wealth and his parents could afford to send him to medical school. So he was a rich kid that got to go to medical school and got to get a job as a doctor. But all he's doing is just doing what he learned in his science book that were written for him by mega corporations that have shaped the world of how we understand the medical world and why we go into a radiation thing for supposedly cancer, as they call it. All these different things are cancer. Again, this big sick system has been built, and all it's built on is indoctrination and everyone needing to get paid. So they just go and take their job, whether it's a doctor or a teacher or a journalist, and all they do is exactly what they were told to do. They don't use their own minds. They just follow. Are you following what I'm saying right now?
Absolutely. And do you think that if we did collapse all of this, would people just create their own societies with their own ciphers?
Listen, we're talking about the way that a certain order operates, and the reason these people do this is because of Kabbalah. I might not have said that word in this stream, but it's why I've written books. I answer all the questions. For everyone who has questions about anything, just read my books. I've made them free to download. But everything is about Kabbalah. Kabbalah's opening page of its Book of Formation says, God created the world with numbers, letters, and words. These people are the Cabal. They use this Cabalistic code to play God over humanity. Let's say you and I take over the world. That's not going to happen, but just hypothetical. You and I take over the world. Are you and I going to agree that we're now going to control everybody by making sure everything's a letter and number encoded ritual each day? Are you and I going to do that? Would you want to do that?
Well, does God have his own cipher that's being blocked by this cipher?
Okay. Can you answer here before you go to a new question? Can you just answer the question I asked you? Are you going to rule over the world with letters, numbers, and words like these clowns do every day? Is that going to be your first priority?
Well, it's like a parent that's like training their child, growing up, and you.
All right, hold on. I got to get to other callers. I'm expecting you to give me a yes or no answer. I'm expecting you to say no. I mean, so you're already thinking about this? Well, maybe I would rule over the world with letters, numbers, and words. Like, to me, it's like, no, it's not like that. I'm not going to rule over the world with letters, numbers, and words. The first thing I'm going to do as ruler is to go out and do something the U.S. president's never done. I'm going to say, listen, American people, we need to just do better. We need to be more motivated to be better people. We need to treat each other. It's going to be like the Tupac Changes song. We need to, that's what America needs. They need a leader to tell them to be better people. Eat better. Strive harder. Stop making so many excuses. Yeah, I understand you were born with a shit hand. If you cry about it your whole life, you're never going to get out of it. The only way you're ever going to improve anything is to be better as people. And right now, look at us. We're fat. We're sloppy. We're lazy. All we care about is entertainment. That's not good enough. We're watching this nation crumble in the 21st century, and all people can get together to do is watch a sports game. That's what I'm doing. I'm not thinking about, I'm in charge now, so I'm going to figure out how to rule over them with the letters, numbers, and words. Anyway, caller, I appreciate the questions, but come on, man. If you got closing remarks, 15 seconds.
Well, I'm just saying, why is this overriding the organic stuff that you're talking about? You're saying there's an organic world that's being blocked by this.
There is an organic world. I'm just saying, okay, this is another huge conversation. I'm talking about what we need to understand right now is that there is a cabal, and they're mocking us every day, and they're leading us to a greater destruction, and they're putting it all in front of our face with all these different pieces of the puzzle over, in the headlines as the years go on. So anyway, that was the point of this stream. I'll talk about the organic side more later, because there is an organic side. Let me go out to 602. We got to get in the rest of these calls. 602, you're on.
Zach.
Yeah, what's up?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, I want to reference your personal efforts in terms of Washington State, Oklahoma City, and back east, and what one person can do. In 1993, Harry Mitchell, Tempe High teacher and ex-mayor, was running for office for House of Representatives, and they were pushing two 13-story twin towers on the corner of University of Mill. On a radio show, I called in and softballed him a question, so I get on, and I shut him down. I proved that he said that there was no residential housing displaced in between Mill and the railroad tracks and First Street and University. They wanted to put two 13-story twin towers on the corner of University and Mill to mimic the scale of the two towers in New York City. I called in on the talk show host, and I called in and I said, hey, Harry, you said no residential housing has been displaced. You wouldn't put in two 13-story twin towers. Reflective mirrors are going to shine down on the traffic at University and Mill. It's going to cause gentrification and the houses on Ash and Maple. I shut them down. They wanted two 13-story twin towers. It previously been set back in the 20s, in the 1980s, two 20-story twin towers. I shut them down. That was on the corner of University and Mill, and it's Chase Manhattan Bank. So I shut them down, called in, asked Harry Mitchell, and then they reduced it to two buildings. One was 5-story and one was 4 stories. Got the 54, and I was born in 54. So Chase Manhattan Bank, if you're listening to me, I shut you down, and I'd like to say to Chase Manhattan Bank.
All right, caller. Hey, caller. You know what I love about this story is, yes, you can make things happen in the world if you can stop their plans if you put enough effort to it. My old landlord in Seattle has a similar story to you, that they were going to build this big high rise at the bottom of this block, and it was going to block everyone's view of the mountain before the city was there. And that neighborhood fought it, and they got those buildings stopped from being built, and they were only allowed to make them 2 stories tall instead of the plain 20 stories they had. So anyway, yeah, that's great. But at the same time, we can't celebrate, right? We're getting destroyed more than ever. So had more people made an effort like you, then we'd be doing better in the world. So I'll take that part of the story. But like I said, I got to get people in here before I have to end this stream. So thank you for that, and a reminder of how we can stop it.
You bet. Yeah, this is Lou D. Trebuchet. And, anybody that uses emoji stars, it's a pentagram. A star is a pentagram. A star is a pentagram and an emoji.
Indeed. Appreciate that. Thank you. Again, the GOP tilted their 5-pointed star downwards in 2000. A downward pointing pentagram, satanic. And now you got Trump running on MAGA, which is the highest degree of the Church of Satan. And he's doing all these rituals with the synagogue of Satan and the forced contriving a prophecy for the third temple. I mean, it's not hard to see what's up. 531, you're on.
It was good, Zach. I just had just a quick observation about the 2018 decode with Tisha Bob and the golden shekel with Trump on it or whatever. I just think that the connections are maybe for his second term. I think you might have been, I don't know. You're great at what you do. You seen it earlier than expected. I think that they're saving that for a second term. But I'm just going to go back through all your decodes and see if I can find any connections myself. I just remembered that Golden Gate Bridge viral video of the Grim Reaper standing over it in 2018. Just a bunch of stuff coming back to me. I just think we were about 7 years early. That's all. But yeah, just great work, man. But yeah, I definitely think they're saving some crazy stuff for 2025, the big year.
For people who forget the Grim Reaper, this is what he's talking about. It was a viral post of the Grim Reaper floating above the Golden Gate Bridge. Everyone was buzzing about it for a minute. And they did that on the 205th day of the year. United Kingdom's 205, Knights Templars 205, Jerusalem's 205. It's also the day leaving 160 days left in the year, and Grim Reaper's 160. July 20. Oh, you know what's crazy about that? 247. And right now the country's 247 years old, and so is the Illuminati. And that bridge thing was pointing to May Day, the day they'll turn 248. Grim Reaper's got the same gematria as the fault line there, Loma Prieta. That's the one that quaked during the World Series. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. That's all I had, Zachy. I just think that we were a little bit, you were a little bit early, but the work's still here.
No, hold on. I want to rewind. No. We were not early. We were dead on. There was a horrible thing that happened at Temple Mount that day, and then there was a huge world event with Taiwan, China, where the Golden Gate Island was right there. So that's what we knew they were doing something. That was a phase of it. Had the Taiwan, China thing happen like that here in America, we'd be like, damn, that's what it was. But Taiwan, China's not us, so it doesn't feel the same. But it was huge. And now we see how that's all these things are coming together right now. So just like I said back then, there was something that was going to go down August 11, 2019. It did. It just wasn't the destruction of the temple. And we didn't say that it was going to be that, but we knew they were pointing to something. And now here we are. And it's obvious that we're getting a lot closer to phase 2 of this ongoing story. And really, it's deeper than phase 2. I mean, phase 1 was when they, we're probably like in phase 100 right now. But this is an ongoing story that's coming to a bigger climax. All right.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it, Zach. That's all I have, man. Thank you so much.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Well, I know he was here because he remembered things. Like most people, I don't know what happened to all the people that used to be here back in the day that are gone. What's up, 215?
Hey, Zach, what's going on, bro?
Yeah, what's up?
Listen, I've been listening to what you've been covering about Trump, about the Church of Satan, and all the rituals he's been doing with all that. I sent you a link because I came across another Gematria page, and they're actually exposing Trump as Aleister Crowley. You know what I'm saying? And they're using Gematria, and they got like irrefutable evidence. I sent you like a link on one of your pages. I don't know how to really get to you besides the Patreon, but I sent you a link on one of your pages. I really want you to check these guys out. There's a female named Divine Sade and Conscious X777, and they use Gematria to expose everything.
Yeah, this is so bad, man. All right, I'm sorry. I got to shut this down. We don't get on here and rep Conscious X, the most obvious, the guy who, again, you guys, why did they let his channel get to 100,000 subs? He took my work and then said this person's this person because their numbers are the same. That guy just said it's irrefutable that Aleister Crowley is Donald Trump. Well, damn, Aleister Crowley looks good for being like that in 2024. No, we're not bringing on this co-opt. Again, the teachings of Aleister Crowley. We talked about the ritual they did this year on his death anniversary with the federal employee. Aleister Crowley dead at 72, and we know why he's dead at 72. He brought demons in the world, 72 demons in the Goetian Jesuit order, 72. But yeah, Aleister Crowley and Thelema and all that is very real. To say that Donald Trump is Aleister Crowley, I mean, he was an old man and died when Donald Trump was 1 year old. That's why, see, this is what's wrong with YouTube. And that's what I predicted this back in 2013 when I started. I said, watch, someday they're going to make like some popular Gematria channel that's just going to be making the work look so stupid. Saying, look, Donald Trump equals Aleister Crowley. They're the same person. Aleister Crowley was born in 1875. He'd be what? 149 years old. Later this year, he'd turn 149. You know, that said, is it an accident that he'd be 148 right now and Donald J. Trump's 148? That's not an accident. Doesn't mean they're the same person. Again, Crowley has everything to do with the history of the UK and the occult, or a lot to do. I shouldn't say everything, but a lot to do. And then again, he's dying right as Israel's being drawn up just before it's a nation. I mean, these things are related, but to say they're the same person, that's just gibberish. And once I hear somebody mention a huge shield, again, you guys, they've deleted my channel 3 times right when it was on the verge of 100K subs. They'll let Conscious X go uncensored, saying this person's this person all day. If you're calling in here saying that's a great channel, you're going to get muted because that's a joke. Let's go out to 903.
Hey, what's up, Zach? How you doing today?
Yeah, what's up?
Oh, nothing, man. I was just working out, man. Can you hit that analysis of all the point you did in the live stream? Man, I missed that, man. I got to hit that. Can you hit that point again?
You want me to review all the points in this 2-hour live stream?
No. I'm talking about that one bullet point you said at the end. I was working
Here,
out there
I
in the
can't.
temple.
Here, I'll go. Here, I got to wrap this stream up. And here, just to summarize this stream, yesterday, April 15th, tax day. All of these things are buzzing in the news, and I want you guys to understand the connection. You have a pro-Palestinian march shutting down the Golden Gate Bridge and other, routes throughout the nation, but the Golden Gate got the top attention. For years, we've been talking about the Golden Gate is the entrance to Temple Mount, and the Palestinians got the Golden Gate entrance shut down back in 2019, and that brought about major protests. So we've been talking about this connection with the Golden Gate in Israel and the Golden Gate at Temple Mount and the Golden Gate Bridge for all these years. And Gematria Temple Mount equals 154. And then the date was 15/4. You have these pro-Palestinians shutting down these bridges. Okay, this is also the day that the federal investigation starts of the Key Bridge collapse. And again, that bridge came down on Nancy Pelosi's birthday, who's from Baltimore, but has been the politician in San Francisco and the Bay Area where the Golden Gate Bridge is all these years. The Key Bridge, when it came down, there were a lot of things that were important, but we talk about how it came down 135 days after the Superior General's birthday and how Biden's infrastructure bill equals 135, but so does Golden Gate Bridge. And we could see the clear parallels between Baltimore and San Francisco and infrastructure and this famous bridge. Baltimore is where Edgar Allan Poe died, and the anniversary of his death this past year, there was a huge ritual in the NFL with the Ravens and Steelers, but that was also the day the war began with Israel and Gaza, and now this involvement with Palestine. So all of these stories are together. Plus, they did this on the anniversary of tax day, and we know where our taxes go to. They go to Israel. They now go to rebuilding the bridge and the port. They go to this federal investigation of a federal cover-up. And so go ahead.
Indeed. Oh, no, that's it, Zach. I was just working out, man. I had to get that in.
Well, here, I got to give you one more piece. I got to give you one more piece that's important. The federal investigation is about a bridge that came down because a big ship hit it. This was the anniversary of the Titanic sinking April 15th. And again, the Titanic, when it sank, a bunch of the world's richest people died who were all fighting the establishment of a central bank in the United States. J.P. Morgan Chase got off that boat just before it set sail. And again, people need to know that Futility, The Wreck of the Titan is a book that was written 10 years before the Titanic sank, about a boat called the Titan sailing from Europe to America and hitting an iceberg and sinking on its first sail, the Titan. And then the same story comes true with the Titanic. And from the day the Titanic sank to the day the Federal Reserve was established in history, 617 days, which is the 113th prime in Titanic equals 113. And again, 113 is the number of deception from the Talmud. So just all the way these things come together, a history of bankers, Zionism, central banks, big stories, big agendas, and you can see how they're all connected on one day when you got this gematria lens.
Right. Thanks, Zach, man. I needed that, man, because I recorded that, and I'm teaching these, waking up these people down here, man, with this, man, let them know, hey, man, this is the real knowledge, this is the real truth, man, this is what's going on, man, this thing you got to grasp, too, so. Man, appreciate, man. Keep up the good work, man. I appreciate the live stream doing today, man. You know what I mean? For real. If you try to give one, it helps, man.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you for recording this and sharing this with other people. I really appreciate that. So call us back and let's do it again.
All right, Zach, man. Keep up the good work, man. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Take care. And I'll tell you what, the guy who called him with the conscious X, if you weren't trolling and you were being serious, you can't call back into my show. I didn't block you as a troll. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt that somehow you're under the illusion of conscious X. But understand, that's a bullshit channel. There's a reason that channel is allowed to grow and get big views. And yours truly has been deleted 1,000 times and now can't get any views. Okay? What conscious X is talking about is nonsense. Trump's Aleister Crowley. Oh, wow. It's just like, come on, man. That's undeniable. You think Trump's approaching age 150, huh? I mean, if that is true, then we do need to, in the realm of anything's possible. If that's true, we need to find out what these cabal types are doing. How's Trump still moving around at age 150? I want to get on that diet. I'm trying to be here because I need to be fighting until I'm age 150, and that's 110 years from now. I feel like if I got 110 more years to go at this, I'm going to beat these people. Conscious X, tell me what you got to eat to live to 150. That should be your next video. You guys, and this is the problem too, that I'm just going to put this trolls comment up here to close this out. You guys, I have people harassing me, my mom, sweet lady, my property, 24/7, 365. There is way too much just like negative harassment, especially for how small the channel is now. And people called this out when I got here in 2013. They said, damn, I never seen anybody have so many trolls so fast. And like I thought back then, I thought that's because I've cracked the damn code, man. I figured out what these people are doing. That's why I'm getting all this harassment. Again, you guys, for the first 5 years, more than the first 5 years, didn't start raising money for this work until the fall of 2018. And that's because I'd exhausted all my savings that I used the first 5 years that I was here, doing this work. And again, I've never required people to support the work. I've given them a platform to use. You can watch all videos all day for free. But I do ask that people who can afford to support the work do, because if we had actually greater support, we could do something a lot bigger. Funds were starting to grow, so we traveled all across the nation, had a huge impact, brought a lot of people together, created a lot of, great moments, kind of stuff that could catch on. But then the funding got cut in half, and it already wasn't that great as soon as that happened. And, nothing's come back since. But yeah, we should be out with resources, able to gather crowds, give away things to get people out there, set up nice speakers, get out a big, important message. Last year in April, I was down in San Francisco at this time, talking to the people on the street about why they got Bob Lee on April 4th, who created CashApp and Square, why he got stabbed to death on 4/4 when the Ides of March, just remember the stabbing of Caesar in 44 BC. And it was the Ides of March that the Federal Reserve put out the memo that they're going to begin certifying the FedNow system the first week of April. And then the guy who gave us digital currency gets stabbed to death after the Ides of March update. We had, you guys, we were at a tourist area when we did that, and the buses pulled up to pick up the people. We had this crowd of people just stop getting on the bus and just stand there and listen to everything I was saying. And then when I was done, they're like, that's crazy. I look more into that. And then they got on the bus. We made them stop what they were doing and listen. Because it's undeniable once you realize. I gave them the ABC 1, 2, 3 and how this 44 is a fateful number. And that's why the first president to die in office died on 4/4. And MLK was killed on 4/4. And JFK was the 44th term president. Remember, Donald Trump, who's so central to all this, he was number 45, but the 44th person to be president. And don't forget, Zion equals 44, like Israel, like Netanyahu, like Theodore Herzl, the founder of Zionism, died at age 44 in 1904, 44 years before Israel was created. And then just recently, you had Netanyahu on the eve of the 44th anniversary of the Iranian hostage crisis, saying he wasn't going to stop destroying Gaza until he got back every last hostage. They're already putting out stories that hostages had died, so obviously he wasn't going to get back every hostage. Pretty much he's just going to keep destroying until there's nothing left to destroy. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. For those of you guys on Patreon, we'll start the sports stream party soon. And, that's the other thing. There's a lot of people who don't like me because I do the sports thing too. If you guys don't like that I do the sports thing, do you support the other work? If enough people just supported the work I did every day, the journalism work, which is almost no one, I wouldn't need to do the sports thing. If you don't like me doing the sports thing, then support the work, because that's how I won't have to do the sports thing anymore. I wish I didn't have to do the sports thing either. But this work needs resources, and that's the only way they come in. I shouldn't say the only way, but that's almost the only way they come in. People want those resources. Hold on. I got D26 calling in. D26, this has to be real quick because I have to start my my Patreon show, which starts in a few minutes. But if you got a couple minutes, go ahead.
Indeed. Yes, that's an only just 1 or 2 things to add. So this year, there's only one Marvel movie that is coming out, and that's called as Deadpool versus Wolverine. And there will be a reference, and probably they will show this, and they'll be showing a destroyed Golden Gate Bridge, which is a reference to the 2006 X-Men movie, in which, if you know the character Magneto, he destroys the Golden Gate Bridge. And they are just making a reference to that bridge. They also have that in the trailer. and that movie is coming out in 26th of July. The director of that movie is 55 years old. His birthday is on 23rd of July. 3 days after his 55th birthday, he will be turning 26. There's 3 days before the movie release on 26th of July, and he will be 56 years old, and the number 3 equals 56. And there's a lot of things. Also, the Golden Gate Bridge, it's 1.28 kilometers long from the 2 towers, the red color towers, and bridge collapse equals 128. So it has the fatal distance, I would say.
What movie is this?
So I think that
What movie is this?
it's called Deadpool versus Wolverine.
Ah, wow.
You must be knowing that because you were my age when the last movie came out of Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, and Hugh Jackman all together in the same movie. That was in 2006. So they are making a reference to that old movie, and it's going to be a huge movie. That's why I'm a big Marvel nerd. I've said this before, but yeah, that's one thing that I've had a lot in my mind. There's a lot of things that I will mention, but I think in a different stream. But yeah, that's it for today, I would say.
Okay, so Deadpool versus Wolverine.
July 26th.
Yeah, the thing here's what's interesting about July 26th. That was actually the day that a lot of the news was going viral about the Grim Reaper over the bridge. It happened 2 days earlier on social media, but a lot of media brought attention to it on July 26th. And July 26th is written 26-7, like 267. That's the Philadelphia area code. There's a lot of history with Philadelphia in the Bay Area, and the Key Bridge was also pointing towards Philly. But Philly's connected to the Bible because, again, in Revelation, the letter is written to the Church of Philadelphia about the synagogue of Satan. So, yeah, there's definitely something going there. And for people to know, Grim Reaper is related to Saturn because the Grim Reaper scythe is Saturn's scythe. Saturn's the keeper of time, connected to death and judgment. Of course, Saturdays are named after Saturn. Might have to start looking at the Saturdays coming up in the future to see if we could get a continuation of this story.
Stanley Kubrick was born on 26th of July. Does that make any connection to the Golden Gate Bridge?
He's born on the 26th of July?
26th of July.
Well, more research to be done.
If there's a movie.
We'll research this more. I'll look into that movie and we'll research this more. But yeah, give us a...
letting me know.
Okay. All right. I do got to get off D26, but I appreciate the observation. Thank you. Okay. Okie dokie. Yeah, if you guys got here late, definitely hit the rewind. Shout out to Mike Rawson, who's been a member for 11 months. Today's an anniversary day. Shout out to Oscar Garcia, again, with the generosity. Thank you, Oscar. You donated yesterday. You don't got to donate every day, friend. I appreciate it, though. Thank you. Not a lot of Oscars out there. Shout out to Boondock. Boondock chipped in $10.56 and said, Simpsons season 15, episode 6. Today I am a clown. 156. Which post is it? Maybe I already took it down. I had it up here earlier in a deeper part of the post, but didn't go to it. You guys know about the Simpsons in 9/11 on the magazine cover. There's a lot more to that. Yeah, we'll save it for later, though. I got to wrap this thing up. Thank you again to everyone who hits the like and the share. Thank you to everyone who supports the work. And probably be back later today. Until next time, True Seeker.